Espresso. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day for Thursday, October 16th, 2025. Today's episode is brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Espresso is found in every clubhouse around baseball. You enter the stadium after a long night of partying or a long night of eating or a long night of playing baseball. You come in and the majority of players go right to the espresso machine. And I was picturing every member of the Blue Jays walking into Seattle, the king of the cities of coffee, down 2-0, having lost 2 in a row at home, needing to win game 3 or the series is over and the Mariners were going to the World Series. A true game 7 for the Toronto Blue Jays last night. And I picture them walking into the clubhouse and bringing their bats like Jobu and waking them up, not with a little alky, but with some espresso. And man, did it work, except not in the first inning. Game starts, Randy Johnson, the big unit, first pitch. Everyone's excited. 2 wins away from the World Series, 6 wins away from their first ever World Series ring and trophy. George Kirby on the mound, dealing. Fastball 98-99, who doesn't? Springer leads off. He's been hitting home runs, hitting doubles. He's getting on base. Nope. 1 out. Vladimir Guerrero ends the top of the first. No runs. The crowd's going crazy. George Kirby's feeling good. Walks off the mound. Up comes the Mariners. Cal Raleigh hitting second. Nope. But then Julio Rodriguez, with Randy Arozarena on base, bottom of the first inning, hits a home run. Mariners are up 2-0. The place is nuts. Now, they're loud to start with in Seattle. I assume because they're jacked up on espresso, the entire crowd. But they're feeling like this is it. Up 2-0. I've got the Mariners as my pick of the day because I thought the Blue Jays were definitely going to win. So therefore, I took the Mariners because that's how cold I've been. So then the Mariners are up 2-0. And I'm thinking, all right, I had the game analyzed wrong, but I'm going to win the pick of the day. We got a long way to go. But man, the Blue Jays bats, they better wake up. But George Kirby, he's got such great command. The guy doesn't throw balls. He is around the zone. He's in, he's out, he's up, he's down. He's changing planes. He's just hard to hit. One of the best command pitchers in all of baseball. And it's not like the old days where great command pitchers were throwing 84. The guy's throwing 98. But then something happened, and something happened. You know, when these things happen that you think are going to happen, but then they don't happen for a couple of days only, and then you assume, all right, they're done happening, but then they happen again, and then you say to yourself, of course they happen again. Why would you have thought they wouldn't happen again? The Blue Jays bats, they're the best bats around. They're better than the Dodgers bats. They're better than the Brewer bats. They're better than the Mariner bats. And here you go. Vladimir Guerrero got 4 hits last night, including a home run, 2 doubles and a single. Basically, when Andres Gimenez, the light-hitting, defensive-minded shortstop, ties the game with a 2-run home run in the 3rd inning, you're thinking to yourself, uh-oh. When we would play teams and we would have our list of the people that we will not let beat us, we also had a list of the players who we knew would not beat us. And if they are involved in the game in any way, we're going to lose the game and we tip our cap. When Andres Gimenez hits a home run and you're the Seattle Mariners and you're looking at a tie game, the 9-hole hitter, you don't know him. He doesn't hit, but he's really a smooth fielding shortstop. But he doesn't hit. When that guy goes deep in a ballpark where hitting home runs, it's as hard to come by as, a Diet Coke in Seattle, you got a problem. And that's what happened to the Mariners. The Blue Jays offense went crazy. They scored 13 runs and they beat the Mariners 13-4. Now, Arozarena finally hit a home run. Cal Raleigh hit another home run when the game was completely out of reach at 13-2. Not off a position player, but who cares? 13-4, 2-1, 4-3. That part doesn't impact teams. The Mariners didn't leave last night's game and say, wow, we can't hit Shane Bieber. Now, Shane Bieber had a great game. I didn't expect him to go 6 strong, but he did. Once Julio Rodriguez hit the home run in the first inning, I thought that there was a chance if he didn't get command of his slider that he wouldn't last 3 innings and that the Mariners would take a commanding 3-0 lead and it would be a party in Seattle, the type that would just make you want to watch the movie Singles over and over again. That type of thing. But then the Blue Jays and their lineup, once Jimenez hits the home run, all of a sudden Springer, Guerrero, it didn't stop. Then I'm watching the game and I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe I didn't pick the Blue Jays, which is who I thought would win the game, because how are you going to hold that offense down 3 games in a row? Although pitching always wins. And the thought is Kirby should be able to maybe contain that lineup. He gave up 7 runs. They left him in there. It changed everything in a way that it shouldn't. I've been doing this for so long and I still do the same thing that we all do. A result happens that was totally expected. Except it hadn't happened in 2 days. Vladimir Guerrero 0 for 7 in the series until yesterday. Oh no. Is this it? Is he choking? Is he slumping? And then he drops 4 hits. The Blue Jays offense completely neutralized by the Mariners pitching. Can it stay that quiet for 4 out of 7 times? Well, certainly, because pitching is going to win over time. What you don't expect is if you've got the Blue Jays offense and you combine it with stellar pitching, which I can't take away from Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber pitched like a 2-3 starter, and to me, he's been acting like a 6-7 starter when he used to be a 1-2 starter, had the TJ. We know the inconsistency of Tommy John. He just came back this year. You're going to have good Shane Bieber, bad Shane Bieber. Last night, good Shane Bieber. Last night, bad George Kirby. Last night, great Blue Jays offense. Last night, Seattle offense, mediocre, though 4 runs in theory should win them more games than it loses. And the last 2 runs were after the game was out of reach, but it still counts. They scored 4 runs. So, what does it mean for the American League Championship Series? Well, it's what you think it means. It means that now it's 2-1 Seattle, and there's 4 games left. So, does that mean that Game 4 tonight, biggest game ever? If the Mariners win, they're up 3-1, series over. Nope. Blue Jays win, tied at 2. You're down to a 2 out of 3, series over. Nope. This game, actually, in a 2-1 series, Game 4, while it's always good to win and go up 3-1, and one of my favorite memories was our Game 4 victory to go up. That was to go up. That was to tie it at 2. What am I talking about? I have no idea why I just said that. When did I ever go up 3-1 in a Game 4? Oh, I guess in San Francisco, but that won the series. So no. Maybe I'm just thinking about other series. Maybe we should just edit that entire thing out. 4-8-6-9. One of the things about a Game 4 in a 2-1 series, that's a 7-game series, is that it's not the Game 7 type that Game 3 was in a 2-0 series, that Game 7 is in a 3-3 series, or even Game 7 is in a 3-2 series for the team with 2. So I'm going to watch the game. But if you're choosing a game, you got to watch the Dodgers-Brewers tonight. You have to, because the Dodgers are up 2-0. They're going back to Chavez Ravine. Can you imagine if right now the Dodgers win tonight, they're up 3-0, that's it. I think we agree with that, don't we? The Brewers did something yesterday that made me smile greatly. Do you know the rule of when we have to announce our starting pitcher? I don't know if you know this, but there's a whole big thing that comes up because right now the Brewers refuse to name their game 3 starting pitcher. The Dodgers already did. They have Glasnow going. The Dodgers already named their game 4 starter, which is Shohei Ohtani. The Brewers have decided we're not going to name our game 3 or game 4 starter, but you do have to meet the media each day. So Pat Murphy meets the media, and the question's asked, like, hey, what do we got? He's like, yeah, we really don't know. News alert. The Milwaukee Brewers did not go to bed last night without knowing who was going to be their starting pitcher. They strategically did not want to announce it because they are hoping that the Dodgers make their lineup before the Brewers announce who their starting pitcher is, and then they may have screwed up the left, right. And if you've officially submitted your lineup, nope, that's not how it works anymore, folks. That strategy is gone. Do you know that the official lineup, it's not what is sent into baseball, even though that's the rule that's now said that you have to send in for gambling who your lineup is. The official lineup is when you exchange lineup cards. No one ever talks about that. But when you're at home plate before the game and you're lineup card, umpire, checking it, looking to see who's active, looking to see the batting order, then the umpire gets a copy. There's a bunch of copies that are made on this machine that prints multiple big lineup cards, little lineup cards, big lineup card in the dugout on the wall, little lineup card that the manager has that he's holding, bench coach has. But the Brewers are not doing anything strategically smart by not telling us who's starting game 3. If it's Quintana, is it Mizorowski? Just start somebody. The Dodgers lineup will be the Dodgers lineup, and they can adjust to whoever it is. And we studied this. We studied this because I was under the impression that any small advantage is one we should do. Remember when I told you about broadcasters during a show recently? It may have been yesterday or may have been a year ago, when we would not allow the broadcasters to say whether or not a certain pitcher was available that particular night out of the bullpen, even though we knew before the game exactly who we were going to go to, who was available, and when they were going to pitch under different scenarios. We wouldn't tell the broadcasters because the opposing team is listening to both feeds, and we don't want to give them the knowledge of who's available, who's not, because it can change how they manage their game and when they employ certain pinch hitters, all of which mattered more when there was no DH. But having said that, I wasn't upset by what Pat Murphy did. I just found it not necessary. And when I'm trying to talk to my team, who now has to win 4 to 5 against the Dodgers, I have to talk to my team, who certainly has to win 2 out of 3 in Chavez Ravine in this 3-game series that starts tonight in LA. I don't want the gimmicks. We have the best record in baseball. We won 97 games. This is our lineup. This is our pitcher. We are not intimidated by the Dodgers. We don't need to play these mind games with them. We're giving you our best. Good luck. Beat us. And you know the way it works, because I'm a consequentialist. If the Dodgers win this series, they're a better team than the Brewers. That doesn't mean they were better over 162 games. It means they were better over this 7-game series, and this is the 7-game series that matters to get a ring, because getting a ring is all that matters. Hard stop. So we don't know who's pitching for the Brewers. As a matter of fact, Coca, I don't even know. I assume that would impact the line, but there'd be a line. But maybe the line is done with the thought that DraftKings has is, well, it can't be anyone other than Quintana. It could be Mizorowski. They could just put an opener in and have a bullpen guy come out. For crying out loud, they could start McGill in the first inning, then come out with Mizorowski. They could do myriad things. My approach just would have been very different with my team. I would have called my team in and said, yeah, we're playing, ready to go. You guys got this. We've lost 2 in a row before. You can beat this Dodgers team. We were crushing during the season. We've got this. What the Brewers need to do to get back in this series, it's as simple as one thing. You got to win a ball game tonight. Now, there's going to be a whole game plan. There's a whole bunch of meetings that happen before a series. And then before every game of the series, you'll have the pitchers meeting, you'll have the hitters meeting. You do not call a team meeting down 0-2, having lost the first two games at home. All the players understand the gravity of the situation. There is nothing that will happen during a team meeting, an all-team meeting, that will have any positive impact. It will only make it look like the front office is panicking. So don't do that. You do everything regular. You don't do early BP. You don't do early infield. You cannot show panic if you are the Brewers. And Matt Arnold knows this. He's no dummy. So I was very surprised when they went with TBD as their starter for game 3. But to get in this series, you are not focusing on game 4. You are thinking about the first game of a 3-game series. When you want to win a 3-game series, go back to the wild card. Remember those 3-game series? Seems like a year ago, but it was 2 weeks ago. Yankees, Red Sox. You remember it. Reds, Dodgers. You remember it. Mets, nobody. You remember it. What did we say? You got to win game 1. Well, game 1 is tonight between the Brewers and the Dodgers. This is the game 1 of the 3-game series in Los Angeles, and the Brewers must win 2 out of 3. To win 2 out of 3 in a 3-game series, win game 1. That's all we're doing. What we're saying to our manager is, you're managing tonight. Everyone's available. Don't, except Peralta, don't care, and even he could be available, but don't care about game 4. I don't care about game 5. We've got to get this game. Will they? We're going to find out shortly. I don't love the schedule tonight, Coca. I've been upset with it before. There are 2 games tonight. 6:08 Eastern. I'll be watching the Brewers and Dodgers. But then Blue Jays Mariners starts at 8:33. Come on, Fox. Can't we do better? TBS has the game at 6:08. Let's say it's over at 9:08. That means for the first basically 35 minutes, which is anywhere from 1 to 2 to 2.5 innings, I got to double screen it. I don't understand why it couldn't be 6:08, 9:08. Is that a little later? Yeah. How about 5:08, 8:08? Oh, yeah, the game's in LA. They don't want to play a 2 o'clock game in LA, but they'll play a 3 o'clock? Have you been on the 10, the 4:05? Come on. There's no difference. It's probably worse for a 3 o'clock game than a 2 o'clock game. And it's not going to make a difference in the attendance. It's the NLCS, though there could be playoff fatigue in LA. They may not sell out. Of course they're going to sell out. So I'm annoyed at that. I'm also upset with Aaron Rodgers again. Now, and I told you with what's happening in my life that I didn't want to be upset with Aaron Rodgers because I want his phone number if anyone has it. Because I want to talk about going to Peru and doing an ayahuasca retreat. Not with Aaron, but I just want to know who his Swami was. I just said like Chris Berman's nickname. I don't think that's the right name. Who his professional person is, who takes you on a journey into the depths of your own created hell during the course of your life. Shaman. Damn it. What did I call it? Swami? That is Chris Berman when he did the Monday Night Football. And during halftime of Monday night games, you're too young for this, Coca. Chris Berman would be called either the best 2 minutes in sports or the fastest 2 minutes in sports. Which, by the way, the fastest 2 minutes is usually not meant for sports. It's meant as an insult to teenagers or to college students or to 57-year-olds. But it is when he went through highlights of every game. And it was fast and it was amazing because back then, that's how you got your highlights if you didn't watch SportsCenter. Anyway. So Aaron Rodgers has been a subject on this show. But you know me. If someone does something that I agree with, I'm going to tell you. Even if it were Derek Jeter, I would tell you. And I've agreed with some of the things he's done or said over the course of time, like that flip play against Oakland. Oh my God, that was so good. I mean, you talk about on-field presence, just being able to slow the game down. Aaron Rodgers came out yesterday and had some words about the surface at the Pittsburgh Steelers Stadium. Let me give you a background to this story because it's a funny one to me. Now, let me just say this for everyone listening. It is not funny to me ever when a player gets hurt. Ever. Pittsburgh, they had one of their better players had a non-contact knee injury, and the thought is that it's from the turf. We did a segment about the turf at somewhere, Coca. Was it MetLife? I think it was MetLife, where players keep getting hurt. This one felt a little different. The special teams captain, a guy named Miles Killebrew. You may not have heard of him, but special teams captain, that's not a schlepper on an NFL team. Frankly, if you're on an NFL team and you're one of 53 or 55, that is obviously you're the best of the best. Injuries are happening in football all the time because it's a violent, horrific sport where you are paid money to try to hurt someone else on the team, on the field. It's an insane game if you actually think about it, that we are addicted to from a gambling fantasy, just warrior, gladiator mentality. But we want to see big, fast men going as fast as they can, hitting each other as hard as they can, and then we take a knee when someone is hurt in a way that horrifies us and makes us feel guilty for what we love, and then we clap, we applaud, and then we watch more. And the only time that we're forced to stop watching is not like paralysis, it's like death. When Hamlin is down and dead, then we'll postpone the game because no one can play. But a big hit where people can't see straight and they're looking at little Tweety birds and Tom chasing Jerry in their head, little bells ringing. And then we don't even ever want to see football players in their 50s when they're my age. Don't you dare show me a picture of Jim McMahon right now. Forget it. That's how we are as fans. But a non-contact, devastating knee injury, wow, we've got some serious stuff to say about that. Like, that's an outrage. That's totally avoidable. The Pittsburgh Steelers have gone crazy talking about what happened with their turf. And the union is now involved, of course. The commissioner's office is now involved, of course. So the story is, when you've got a field, you budget to replace the sod. Sod is what you bring in, and it's got grass on it. It's squares that come in on a forklift that have pre-grown grass in like a sod field. You go get a truck to pick up the sod. It makes it to your ballpark. We had grass in Marlins Park before they put turf in when I was gone. And you lay the sod, literally like you would lay the sod in your backyard. And then there's special applications you put to it, and you make sure that it's smooth, and you walk the field to make sure there's no divots, and you make sure the sprinklers are covered, because there are sprinklers in the field, and that can hurt a player if you don't pay attention. That can change a ground ball to the outfield if you don't pay attention. So you're focused on all these things. When you do other events at your ballpark, so for example, a concert, when you're negotiating to have a concert at your ballpark, one of the negotiating points is the RSC. The RSC is the replacement sod cost. It's not cheap. And what you do as a landlord, as the person who gets to get all the revenue from non-sport events at your stadium, so you're out there with hired a whole department to find concerts and weddings and bar mitzvahs and anything you can find in order to get revenue. RSC is a line item that can be anywhere from 50 to 150 grand. And that is when someone uses your field, you replace the sod. But every time you replace the sod, when that event is finished, the sod takes time to stick. It takes time to sort of work its way to be the smooth, perfect field that you can get weeks after new sod is put in place. And if you don't have that kind of time and you're playing a game, quickly after an event, you know you're going to have a problem. So what do? You go to your manager, you go to your general manager, you go to the owner, and you say, we have a RS issue, a replacement sod issue. It's not going to be great, but let's get the players out there. We'll do a little infield, we'll do a little outfield, and we'll get everyone ready, but it's not going to be crisp. It's not going to be firm, so let's be careful out there. There are some events that we would choose not to have because the damage to the sod in our mind would be so great that we don't even have time to replace it before an event, and therefore we would turn down the event. We try not to do that often, but that's why you don't book events in October, ironically, thinking you're going to play in October every year, because you don't want to have a replacement sod so close to a postseason game. So the Steelers had a sod issue, they had an injury issue, and their excuse was overuse. Not from other events, though. You see, they share their stadium with another football team. It's a little bit like the Giants and Jets, except it's not another pro team. It's a college team. It's the University of Pittsburgh. They also have high school football games that are played there. And the reason why you have these like high school baseball games in a baseball park, high school football games in a football stadium, is that one of the ways you get public funding is you give in to little things like this, where you allow high school teams to come in or community events to happen because the public gets to say they got use of the stadium, and you get to say we are giving something back for all the public money we're getting. All of this is normal. What's not normal is Aaron Rodgers comes out and says, I just felt like it got real beat up, talking about the field. By the time the third quarter rolled around, that thing was really beat up. So I feel bad about what happened to Miles Killebrew. I'm not sure if you know there was any carry there. I know the field gets a lot of play. I have no problem with Aaron Rodgers' statement there. What I have a problem with is that the Steelers did not properly get ahead of it. They had to confirm an in-game report by my friend at CBS, Evan Washburn. That's an overstated word. He's an acquaintance. I like him very much. Friend is too strong a word. I don't want to use it too often. My fellow CBS acquaintance, Evan Washburn, a Steelers spokesperson, had to go to him during the game to say, hey, we're replacing the sod after today's game, as a response to all of the talk that the grass in Pittsburgh, like the grass in so many other places in the NFL, is crap. We have studied so much how to make and grow and maintain grass on your field. Spend literally millions of dollars looking at different systems, irrigation systems, light systems, sod systems, types of grass. You have no idea. There are more types of grass than there are in Pineapple Express. Figuring out what grows right where with your climate. There's scientists who you talk to. It's a whole Megillah. And newsflash, none of it matters. None of it. Which is why you have so many teams turning to this synthetic field, which never gets beaten up, but is also can be totally unforgiving on players' body parts, which are falling apart anyway as they age. So the conclusion of grass turf, resodding, replacing the sod, patching the sod. We used to do something at Marlins Park. Don't tell anyone, Coca. We would take a spray paint can before a game, and we would spray paint any brown patches. We would spray paint it green, the same color as the grass. So from a TV standpoint, it looked like we had a beautiful all-green grass field. But if you walked the field, and if you ask players, they just know, like, hey, we don't talk about this, because if you like dive in the outfield in some places, you get green paint on your uniform, and then it'd have to get cleaned off by the clubbies, and we'd say, no, that was grass, and the players would be like, that's not grass, I tried to smoke it, that's like paint, which gave me a high anyway because I inhaled it, but come on, guys. And we would always do it like we'd have the stadium cameras like turned off and go in and then spray it and then put everything back on before any players came. Those were the days, Coca. The days of spray painting the grass. Oh, that's funny. I don't know why I just thought of that. Oh, because we have an entire segment on grass. Speaking of grass, I'd love to take a break right now. Let's go right to the review. Today's Thursday. We are down to the short strokes here, aren't we, Coca, with 100 Thursdays? Go to davidsamsonpodcast.com, please. That's a website. That is a website where you can find merch, have fun, wear the merch. We have to get some new merch in there. Maybe we'll put some merch in there about sad sack, fun-sucking hosts of shows. But in any case, there's also a document which goes through my top 100 movies, and we made up something like 88 weeks ago, 88 Thursdays ago, that we would review every movie in the top 100 over 100 Thursdays. And then when it's over, I will have watched every one of the top 100 again and then redo the top 100 list, including movies I've seen since I did this latest top 100 list. It's right there in the document at davidsamsonpodcast.com. The problem is, for the past 2 Thursdays, maybe 3 now, Coca, I haven't rewatched the movies. I did not rewatch Coda. I did not rewatch Boyhood. And I did not rewatch Legends of the Fall, my number 83 movie. So how do I say, because I'm not watching a movie every day anymore, which stinks, Coca. It's one of those things that when you're on a diet or you're training for something like a marathon, and then after the marathon and you just have pizza all the time or Chick-fil-A and you're just feeling so good about yourself because you accomplished something and you're like, God, I don't want that discipline anymore. I didn't view watching a movie as discipline. I viewed it as pleasure. I loved it. But now that I haven't done it, I don't know where I had the time to ever do it. I can't figure that out. I don't know. Will I go back to it? Will I not go back to it? 1 second, please. Okay. What about the whole changing of appointments, Coca? I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to go on a rant right now about the lack of control I have over my schedule. I am not doing it. But I have no control over my schedule. And I am a control freak about my schedule to the minute. And as I sit here today, getting texts during shows about schedule changes that obviously will change what I have to do when I have to do it. And I can't be like, no. Do you know how many times people would change their schedule on me when I was running the baseball team? 0. Oh, you're going to have a meeting at 1:30. People are there at 1:25. When I had a meeting when I was a kid, going to like meet with managing directors at Wall Street firms, you get there early. That's on time. Coca, I am livid right now. I'm going to let it go. I'm totally going to let that go. Okay? I think it's the right thing. Where were we, please, in the show? Was I done with Legends of the Fall? Did I even start Legends? Didn't even talk about it. So Legends of the Fall, I just didn't rewatch it. But it's so good I have it in my head. So I replayed it in my head last night as I was laying in bed staring at the ceiling. And I thought about family. It's really a movie about family. The patriarch of the family is Anthony Hopkins. There is an amazing relationship between the 3 sons he has, played by Henry Thomas, Aidan Quinn, and Brad Pitt. And they're all different. All the sons are different. Brad Pitt is a little bit like he is in A River Runs Through It, actually. Interesting. But anyway, so Brad Pitt is the son who, at the end, is going to have a different fate, potentially, than the other sons. And the question is, how does that happen? How can you have 3 kids, raise them all exactly the same, and have them all be different? How does that work? If we are consistent as parents, same situation, same bedtime, same lack of helicopter, total helicopter, whatever the case may be in terms of work and studies, because every kid's different. Every kid has a different brain. Maybe that's true. Every kid has different likes and dislikes. But have you noticed, if you have kids, that sometimes those differences are, you must say, God, is it genetic? Or did I do something? Is it my fault? Anthony Hopkins has to go through an entire, he's such a good actor. I mean, Sir Anthony Hopkins, for crying out loud. If you haven't seen the movie, go see it. Please. I think it'll stay around number 83, though, because I don't think it will be able to ever drop out of my top 100. Next Thursday. By the way, we're going to do next week, although now I need to look at that, but I think we're going to do next week, Coca, and make sure we announce this on the Nothing Person with David Samson YouTube channel, and to all of our loyal audience who thank you. Thank you so much. We're going to do the same schedule as this week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So no show Tuesday, no show Friday, but we'll do 7 a.m. live on Nothing Person with David Samson YouTube channel next week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So today is the last show of the week, which means next hour you're going to get Coca. That's a good thing. But next Thursday, we're going to review Children of a Lesser God. I just watched Children of a Lesser God again very recently because I know exactly why. My son was taking sign language in college as an elective, and I wanted him to watch Children of a Lesser God because it's that good. And I ended up watching it again, and he didn't end up watching it because the movie's so old. Why would he watch it? But I asked him to. Why wouldn't he? I'm going to try to watch a movie this weekend called The Lost Bus. Don't know that I will get to it, but I'm going to try. It's a new Apple TV movie with Matthew McConaughey, and that would be my goal, to review that on Monday. Wait to see. Nothing Personal Pick of the Day. Nothing Personal Pick of the Day presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. We've got a baseball doubleheader plus a football game, and I'm going full meatloaf today. I'm going 2 games, not 3, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I'm going to stick with baseball because we're in the League Championship Series, and therefore it is critical to watch these games, though they're on at the same time. Let's start with Dodgers Brewers. This is my Brew Crew. This is their moment. The Milwaukee Brewers will get into this series while they're pitching an unbelievable guy named TBD. So good. The Dodgers, they only have their ace going, Tyler Glasnow. Now, I guess he's not their ace because Snell's their ace. Snell may not be their ace. Yamamoto's their ace. Wait, Yamamoto may not be their ace because Ohtani could be. Oh, criminy. They've got 4 aces? Forget it. This is the moment for the Brewers. And the line, according to DraftKings Substance Change, is minus 194. How do we not take the Brewers as an underdog at Chavez Ravine? Because I've been freezing cold. And it worked yesterday. I wanted the Blue Jays. So instead, I ended up taking the Mariners, and the Blue Jays won. So what do you do today? It's a brand new day. The sun came up. The Nothing Personal Pick of the Day presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. We're going with the Dodgers to take a commanding 3-0 lead because Tyler Glasnow, he may be better than Snell and Yamamoto. And then we're going to watch the Mariners try to take a 3-1 lead, putting my former pitcher, the guy I never wanted to trade, just kidding, traded him 5 times, the guy who I thought would be a bullpen arm, ended up being a long-time starting pitcher, Luis Castillo, not the Hall of Famer Luis Castillo, Marlins Hall of Fame, not that great second baseman with the World Series ring. I'm talking about another starter for the Mariners that I believe his stuff plays against the Blue Jays lineup. So what we're looking for with the Mariners tonight in Seattle, obviously to bounce back from 13-4 loss last night. They forgot about it. But what we're looking for, Castillo, important. Top of the first. Top of the first is always important. What we're looking for is command. If he commands his fastball, I like it. Mariners minus 143 over Max Scherzer. Now, you'd think that Max Scherzer shouldn't be such a big underdog until you realize that Max Scherzer, it's not the Max Scherzer. This is the Max Scherzer, the union hack. This is not Max Scherzer, the Hall of Fame Cy Young winner. This is Max Scherzer, the ineffective pitcher. Worse than Bieber. We're taking the Mariners. Those are our picks of the day. We also have a football game Sunday. I'm going to try to watch some football this Sunday, though. Coca, it has not been working for me, but I'm really going to try because as a Giants fan, I want to watch the Colts so badly because I get such a rush from watching Daniel Jones. It just makes me feel so good. Every time I can watch former Giants excel with other teams, it just gives me that feeling in my heart that just goes pitter-patter. The Colts are getting 1.5 from Justin Herbert and the Chargers. The Colts have been, and Daniel Jones has been, way better than the Chargers. Except who would think, other than Dominique Foxworth, that the Colts can actually beat the Chargers? This guy does. We're taking the Colts plus 1.5 over the Chargers. So those are the 3 games we're doing. A reminder that yesterday we had a great So You Want to Talk to Samson. I mean, anytime you can work in a Coca laugh into a show, you know things are going good. Next Wednesday, we will do it again. Please get on the phone. Give me some great questions. 631-377-4869. That is the So You Want to Talk to Samson phone line. You can actually hear your voice on the show. If you ask a question, 20 to 40 seconds, you can stay longer, but we're just not going to use it. Appreciate you. That'll be fun. We talk a lot about the media here and speaking to the media. When the season, what was it, last Monday? Was it this week, Coco, when we talked to you about Tua and what he did with the media when he called out his teammates for being late to meetings, and we did a whole segment about it, and it's just a total mess in Miami? Did you see what Miami did yesterday? It can't be. It can't be that they made Tua meet the media again yesterday and apologize. And it can't be that if they were going to make him apologize for what he said about calling out the leadership of the team, and then Mike McDaniel saying, hey, I didn't really hear what he said, but then Mike McDaniel, the coach, saying, well, I did hear what he said, and I think that was the wrong forum for him to say it. Now I know. And then we had a meeting, and we met, and we're good. We're focused on the Browns. Remember all that crap? Why is it on Wednesday that Tua would take the podium and say, I've made a mistake, and I'm owning up to that right now? He opened his media availability with a prepared statement, which means that someone wrote it for him, which means that the Miami Dolphins brass somehow felt that it would be wise for Tua and for this 1-5 absolute crap team to turn their season around by sticking their overpaid, underperforming quarterback back out there to explain that what he said originally is not at all really what he meant. So he said, I've made a mistake. I've talked to guys on the team about it. Talked to the leaders about it. Time out, Tua. Why wouldn't you have prepared? And where is the Miami PR department? Why wouldn't you say talk to the other leaders about it? Are you not one of the leaders of the team? And if you're not one of the leaders of the team, which I don't believe Tua is, then why in God's green earth did the Dolphins give him that outrageous contract? You don't get to make fitty and not be a leader of the team. Doesn't work. But Tua talked to the leaders about it. They know my heart. Yeah, they do know your heart, Tua. They know that the intent was right. This is still Tua talking in a prepared statement. The intent can be right, but when things get misconstrued, or however the media wants to portray it, that leaves a void of silence and a lot of questions for the guys on our team. Timeout. Did we misconstrue what you said when you called out players for not attending meetings on time or coming at all? I'm just curious. Am I a moron? Did I misunderstand the words in my native language of English that you said? Are there different definitions for the construct of a sentence which states that players are not showing up to mandatory meetings? Is that like code for they're not mandatory meetings, or that they are showing up, but I didn't realize it's backwards day and what's up is down and what's left is right? Are you impugning the media that we misconstrued your statement? That is like the ultimate gaslight. Did the PR people seriously think that this was going to make it better? And then we're going to have Tua say, what happens in-house should be protected. None of that should have gotten out. So I want to publicly apologize about that. I want to move forward, and now I want to focus on the Cleveland Browns. This is the worst thing that they could have done. Stop with the eyes. We are together moving forward. We spoke, all of the leaders of this team, and we agreed that we need to be better. We are not a 1-5 football team, and we agreed to start showing that this Sunday against the Cleveland Browns. We sat down as a team and we banded together arm in arm as a group of men with one common purpose, one common goal. That's the message I wanted to give out there to our fans. Stop talking to the media. Stop saying that the media misconstrues. Stop using I. We're not buying it. It's so easy to get us to buy stuff as fans and media because all you have to do is write down a statement that makes sense, that passes the smell test. Instead, you sit there and you make things worse. And it happens time and time again. It's one of the questions you have to ask when you're going to do a statement. One of our favorite things on Nothing Personal. It's statement number 2. Statement number 1 was absolute horse hockey. So we got to come out with statement number 2. Now, it's going to be embarrassing because statement number 1 will be totally different than statement number 2. And then we got Samson dealing with it. But let me tell you, I'll get you every time because it's not that I'm this smart PR guy. It's that it just makes sense. Preparing Tua to say a statement and he drops more eyes and how media. Come on. We can do better than that. Now, all of this happening before the Dolphins play the Browns is just a special kind of perfect because there is so much at stake this weekend. Coca, if the Dolphins go out and crap the bed and lose to the Browns, then what are the statements going to be? Then what are the leaders going to say? But if they come out and crush the Browns, which they should, even though the line is teensy-tiny, then you get to say, look, we are lockstep. We are locked in. This season isn't over. We're looking at 11-6. We can do this. See you in the playoffs, baby. It's all about the possibility of beating this team. So it's the old story. You're going to do a team meeting, do it before you face crappy pitching the next day so you can claim the team meeting worked. All this happening before playing the Browns, it's perfect. On the other hand, if the Dolphins lose, that's going to be outstanding. Did you know that all your favorite NBA players are back? And DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is the place to bet on NBA stars this season. New customers bet just $5 and get 3 months of NBA League Pass. Plus, score $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Samson. That's code Samson. Bet $5 and get 3 months of League Pass. Plus, get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. All of this is in partnership with DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It is Thursday, October 16th, 2025. It is hour two. Thank you for thinking it's Friday, but it's not Friday, but you're going to feel like it's Friday because we have Coca with us. We can't let the weekend, and there is no show tomorrow. We'll be back on Monday, but we can't let the weekend without hearing from Coca because Coca has a laundry list of topics to talk about with you all. And it's such a help to me. The audience loves it, Coca. The numbers are spiking whenever you're on the show. So welcome back, Coca. Are you okay? Are you okay helping me on Thursdays for hour two when it used to be Fridays? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's just I feel like this is a good pick me up for the fans. Instead of having to wait till Friday, they now get me on Thursday. So it makes their week just a little bit better.
There's so much we have to get to, and there's things in hour one that I didn't get to talk about because I really wanted to, but I don't want to take away your topics because you gave me a heads up last night with some of the things you were thinking about, and it made me smile, and I don't want to give it away to our audience. So where do you want to start? Because you're very passionate. So for those who don't know, Koki's the producer. Every episode we've done, our anniversary was this week. Happy anniversary, Coca. I didn't send you anything. What's the 6-year anniversary? Is that like paper, plastic? Is it leather? I could send you a signed baseball. You don't know.
Let's just start.
Okay, go. What's your first topic?
Would you have pushed for Vladdy Jr. to get that triple to finish the cycle?
Hell yeah! Cycles are so cool. I never had a cycle my whole career. 18 years, not one player on a team that I was running had a cycle. I left the Marlins, and then they got their first cycle in franchise history. I think it was Luis Arias, and I don't remember what year. And I think they've had another one since then. But yes, cycles are so rare. And the reason we wanted a cycle, Coca, is that we wanted to put it. We have suites in Marlins Park. There's like a no-hitter suite, a Silver Slugger suite, and a World Series suite. So I wanted like a cycle to be a thing where we could promote it and it would be cool. But yeah, when you're a triple short of the cycle and you hit a ball in the gap, we would talk to the players about this, Coca. Go. Like if the game is out of reach, which last night's game was when he got his last double, I can't believe he didn't get thrown out at third. I just can't believe it.
Do you think players try not to push because it is the playoffs? Because it is, one of these things where, let's say he pulls a hammy or something, trying to stretch it to third base, and then it's just like, maybe he gets the triple, maybe he gets thrown out at third base, whatever. But now he has a pulled hamstring and he's done for the playoffs. Do you think that is more in a player's mind when attempting something like that?
No, I've spoken to players about this. The only one who would tell me, like, of course he would think about it. Like Stanton would say to me, yeah, I think about it when I'm running to first. I don't want to get hurt. And no one wants to get hurt. But speedsters, they don't think about pulling their hamstring. Just like when you dive, I've spoken to Hanley Ramirez. When you dive, even with his bad shoulder, when you dive in the hole at shortstop, even though you're told not to dive, but it's natural to dive, and we tell you don't dive, you're going to separate your shoulder again, and then he dives and does, and then he's hurt again. Players just don't think that way. If you've got a chance, now a couple things. Guerrero knew that he was a triple short. Everyone in the dugout knew. If you look at the dugout after that play, they were all like, dude, what did you just do? How did you stop at second base? It makes no sense. Guerrero knew. He doesn't think he's going to pull a hammy at all. He just thought he would get thrown out. But you do get credit for a double if you get thrown out at third. So I would have absolutely tried for it. Granted, it's a terrible baseball play.
And when did home field advantage not become a thing anymore? Because it just seems that every road team is just winning games, and they're always like, oh, the crowd was so loud we couldn't communicate with each other, we couldn't even hear our own thoughts, but yet teams are crushing other teams on the road. It doesn't even matter. So for me, it just feels like in all sports where it's just like the crowd just. Are players just more composed? Are they just more ready? Like what is happening? Because it's happening in football too, where you're seeing road teams. I think Indiana might have won in Oregon last weekend. So it's just, to me, it's just like uh, doesn't matter.
Are you hypothesizing that there is no more home field advantage in any sport? Because I always thought that baseball had the smallest home field advantage, and we've always sort of statistically known that. But it also used to be like game sevens in the NBA. If you're a home team in a game seven, you're going to win. And it may be recency bias, but I sort of get the feeling that road teams can win game sevens way easier these days than ever before. Though, of course, I have absolutely no analytical proof. It's just my total recency bias. We've talked about that inside meetings, inside committee meetings in baseball. How do you get a bigger home field advantage? And ironically, baseball, in theory, should be the biggest home field advantage because you get to hit in the bottom of the ninth. That is what makes a home team so interesting. It was never about the crowd. It's about the way of the game. It would be like in football, guaranteeing a possession to the home team at the end of the game, no matter what, even with time expiring. Or in basketball, hey, you get one last shot here because you're the home team. There is no home team advantage. Oh, we know our rims better. We shoot more in those hoops. That's total horse hockey. Or, oh, we know we like the home clubhouse better. We're more comfortable. We know our way around. We can sleep in our own bed. That's a very funny one. There's a home field advantage because the players get to sleep in their own bed. Give me a break. No, nothing to do with it. Better food, better comfort, family. There's some players who prefer to be on the road without their family. That's the big advantage they have. Go check out some home road splits for some players. So, where do I come out on this, Coca? I come out that we work our ass off every season to get home field advantage, or in basketball to get home court advantage, and then it disappears in a matter of hours when you lose a home game on your home court, or you lose the way the Brewers have and the Blue Jays have, and then it's just gone. And you worked all season, and then in a flip of a switch, it's gone, and you think to yourself, man, what's it all for? And the answer is, statistically, I have no idea what it's all for other than money. Because when you get to host an extra game, you get to collect more revenue. And that is why you'd want home field advantage. It's for the extra home games, Coca. That's the only thing I can think of.
How come more teams... I mean, it didn't work out this time, the haunted hotel in Milwaukee. But wouldn't that be something that all cities should try and get? You know, every city should try and get some sort of haunted hotel that they can put the other team at, that the other team just like has to stay at this haunted hotel. Because Teoscar Hernandez was able to get his wife out of the haunted hotel, but maybe there's some way that you can haunt a hotel and keep the players there. I feel like that would bring back home field advantage a little more.
I spent my wedding night in December of 1990 at the Pfister Hotel. Our team hotel for 18 years was the Pfister Hotel. For owners' meetings in Milwaukee, Pfister Hotel. I was calculating recently when I read, you read about the Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee having this, could it be haunted? Are there ghosts? Are there noises? And listen, I'm more scared than the normal guy. And I've stayed there over 100 nights in my life. And I've never been scared of anything other than what I'm always scared of, which is the dark, which is any noises you hear. But I never associated that with ghosts because I'm actually not scared of ghosts because I don't think ghosts are real. I'm scared of the real intruders that are walking down the hallways, or the real security breaches that can happen, or the real fact that rooms are old, therefore a lot of people have stayed in them, and that the blue light shows that sort of wear and tear. But there were players, Coca, who really did get freaked out, like total. The guy from Major League, the guy Dennis Haysbert. What's the name of the guy who was the religious guy? Serrano. There are a lot of Serranos in Major League Baseball who have, religious things, and they've got weird proclivities to think things are true. And so there are players. We had a pitcher named Leo Nunez, who wasn't actually Leo Nunez. He turned out Leo Nunez was his best friend who was younger. He was Juan Carlos Oviedo, and he had to change his name at the end of his career, but he was our closer for a while. He was scared to death in the Pfister, and the traveling secretary would have to know that, and there'd be a way where you plan what room players are in, and we'd make sure that he was on the right side of the hotel, not where quote unquote the ghosts are, and we'd make sure there were players around him who he liked, so he could knock on the door but
so you're saying it's a real thing. So that team should be doing thing. No. So I'm saying teams should be doing this. Teams should be getting haunted hotels.
No, because it doesn't impact the game. We didn't not play well or play well because of staying at the Pfister.
Yeah, but how did he play?
You'd have to go back. Did he blow saves? The worst game we had, Ricky Nolasco, partying till 4 a.m. in Milwaukee, not easy to do, and then having a crappy start. Yes, Ricky, you did that. I love you, man. He just texted me yesterday, reaching out and sending love. So thank you for that, Ricky. But I remember, you remember, we all remember. So no, it really has to do with how good the lineup is you're facing. It doesn't have to do with how much you partied the night before. It really doesn't. We just pretend it does. It doesn't have to do with ghosts. Sometimes you just get beaten.
Well, speaking of somebody who might be older than they actually are, Albert Pujols is back in the news because of managerial positions that he could be taking. And, part of the story is, hey, the Los Angeles Angels want him. He's a former player there, Artie Moreno's top choice. But then a report came out yesterday that he could be one of the top candidates for the Baltimore Orioles position. And my take on this is that the Orioles are way better positioned. They're way more stable of a team when it comes to owner, front office, and players because you've got, Jackson Holliday, you've got Gunnar Henderson, you had Adley Rutschman, who hasn't been himself, but they have another catcher in Sam Basallo, who they called up, and they signed him already to a long-term deal. So if you're Albert Pujols and you're looking for your first managerial spot, your first head coaching opportunity at the major league level, why wouldn't you go for a team that seems more ready and more stable in Baltimore than have to go to LA? And it's just, you're in this rebuilding mode all the time. Mike Trout is sort of aging out of his contract, but he's still signed for more years. They still have to pay Anthony Rendon money, and it doesn't look like something that Artie Moreno is going to pay, more money than he has to rebuild this team. Then you have a GM in Perry Managian who might not be the GM, who could be a ghost GM who's just still there in title. So I think if you're Albert Pujols, Baltimore seems like the better landing spot, especially for your first job.
Boy, you just sullied Anaheim something good. We've criticized Artie Moreno before, but he spends money. So he's not penurious in any way. They've been bad. He's bad at it, but he does sign players. And I don't know what makes you say that the Angels are rebuilding. They've never rebuilt. They've never taken it all down and taken their payroll down and tried to lose 100 games for 3 years. They've never gone the Houston Astros way or the Chicago Cubs way because Artie Moreno would never let them. And when you're a first-time manager, if you're not Albert Pujols, let's say you're what's a good example of a first-time manager right now? If you're Joe Espada and you're trying to get a job, and you're waiting for the Astros job in theory, or you would have taken any job, you've interviewed for a bunch of jobs, you just want a job. You want to start. But when you're Albert Pujols and you're a sort of Hall of Famer, you've got that level of credibility, you get the feeling that you may get to choose a job. But in the real world, nobody gets to choose a job when it comes to being a manager. And so sometimes a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. And while there may be interest from other teams, if Anaheim steps up and says, hey, we'll give you a 4-year deal, $5 million a year, period, knowing you're going to get fired because every manager gets fired at some point, please take this job. He may take the Anaheim job, but from the beginning I've said he won't take that job because I just think that he doesn't want to be on the West Coast. He doesn't want to be there, period. So I would say that the East Coast, Baltimore, would be a better fit for him geographically. But I don't agree that he looks at the rosters and says, where's my better chance to win? Which team is my better opportunity? I don't believe that managers actually do that, especially managers who have never managed before. Any manager, actually, I don't believe does.
I'm going to disagree there because let's say he's a top candidate for the Rockies job. Is that one after they've lost 100+ games in consecutive years, almost set the record? Is that one where he's jumping on the opportunity to just be a manager because the Rockies are calling him? I'm going to say no. I think
what if his kid is a skier?
Okay. Anyways, I think if the GM for in that situation can see that as a challenge and be like, hey, I want to be the one to rebuild the Rockies. Sure. Mm-hmm. But if you're a manager, you really don't have your fingers all over the roster like that. And you've told us, numerous times that that's sort of how things operate there. But when you have a team like Baltimore and all these guys, most of them have yet to even hit arbitration, all your young guys, whether it's, we can add more names like a Kobe Mayo to it. So it's just like you can see that maybe pitching is a bit of an issue with the Orioles next season. But besides that, their lineup is pretty much filled out. And I just think that if he has a better opportunity and then you bring in, David Rubenstein, who we've yet to see open up his checkbook. But if he says, hey, I want Pujols as that guy, I think he could be a great manager. I'm willing to open up my checkbook to, get more starting pitching here, to, fill whatever gaps we have left here. I think Pujols has to look at that opportunity and say, hey, I'd like that challenge more because the team is ready. I can jump in and win 90 games. I could be the guy who wins consecutive 90 games. I can get to the postseason as opposed to, going to the Angels. And you said Artie Moreno likes to spend. Sure. And you said they're not trying to be like the Astros and lose 100 games. Sure. But they're still losing games. They still haven't been to the postseason since, I think, Trout's rookie year. They've had MVPs.
Is that true?
Shohei. I believe so.
I thought it was 2014 his rookie year.
I could be off.
Isn't that the last year the Angels played in the playoffs? But I could be wrong too.
Yeah, I could be wrong about rookie year. But Shohei Ohtani's won multiple MVPs there. Trout has won MVPs there, and they've yet to be able to turn that into a successful season. So I just think, if I'm him, I look at the Orioles, I look at what the offer is, and I just think that outweighs, going to the Angels and going there, because there's also the fact that, a few years ago, Artie Moreno wanted to sell the team. That was the whole big thing. He wants to get rid of the team. He's looking for buyers, and then he pulls the team off the market. So you talk about stability. It could be in 2 seasons that Artie Moreno wants to sell the team again. He's done with it. He's done with the losing. And then you have a new ownership come in. You have a new GM come in, and you don't have those ties.
All of what you're saying is intuitive and intuitively correct. The thing is, in my experience, managers don't examine the roster and use that as a deciding factor. They want to know the GM. They want to know what the relationship would be, what the owner's like for sure. They want to know if their family would want to live in the city for sure. That's a much bigger factor than you think on a manager's side, not on a player's side. On a player's side, they go where the money is. On a manager's side, if you're a young player, young manager who's never managed, you'll go anywhere. But Pujols views himself as different. He views himself as someone who has a choice, who has different opportunities. And that's when geographic location and family comes into play. Where does the family want to be? So I think that there's factors, but I don't think it is the arbitration status of the Orioles players that will be a factor. I don't think it's the amount of money that will be offered to him that will be a factor. I still believe it's geography. But I will tell you, we said it on the show, I think it's an official wait to see. Pujols will not manage the Angels, but he will manage a team. I believe that is how this will end. And I've said that from minute one, way before it came out that he's the number one choice for Artie Moreno or that the Orioles are interested in him. That's always been my view, and I still believe that. Pujols has a chance to be different, Coca. Normally players that good are not good managers, but I've heard nothing but good things about his ability to manage and to manage a front office and to manage players. So I'm excited to see him in the dugout.
And it
doesn't matter if he's 50, Coca, by the way.
We're talking about coaching openings, and one that could be up in college football is Florida and Billy Napier. And when he was hired from Louisiana as this coach who can come in and he's going to, take Florida back to a national championship. They're going to be contenders, and it just hasn't worked out. Well, the other day a report came out that he could be fired as soon as this weekend. And when top reporters are coming out reporting something like, hey, you could be fired this weekend, coming straight from the AD. How are you supposed to react? So if you're Napier, what are you doing? Are you just going about your business and saying, hey, whatever, I'll get that buyout check. I'm just going to go and I'm going to be a coach? Or are you going and sitting down with the AD and saying, hey, why is this being talked about right now? We have a season ahead
Let's
of
go
us.
back,
How do
Coca.
you handle this? Okay.
Yeah, let's go back. Give me some facts here. Someone just reported this as a rumor, or did the athletic director come out and say we may fire our head coach this
No,
weekend?
I think it's more of just like rumor reporting coming from, like, the report is, hey, this is what I think Scott Strickland is speaking about. Like, this is what the conversations are on Florida's campus right now. Are, if whatever happens this weekend, he could be gone, because Florida, I believe, is 2-4 this year. Napier has a losing record at Florida. When you see teams like Miami and Florida State, who are all in the headlines, Miami's been great for the last couple of seasons. I know Mike Ryan's all happy about that now that he's this mega booster at Miami. So it's just like Miami, the turn has happened where Miami seems to be controlling the state of Florida more. So there's a lot of pressure in Gainesville to win football games, and to be a contender. And under Napier, they just haven't been that.
Yeah, it depends on the relationship you have with your athletic director. So when a manager would read that they're on the hot seat, there's a lot of articles that media does, and this happens across all sports. Coaches on the hot seat, managers on the hot seat. When you see your name on that hot seat, I never had a manager come up to me and say, hey, I saw an article where I'm on the hot seat. Am I on the hot seat? Never had that. What I did have, when a manager heard within the game, not from the media, but from a scout or from one of his coaches or from a friend of his on a different team, when a manager heard, hey, is your job in jeopardy because I'm hearing rumblings that your team is interviewing other skippers or that your team is interested in a different manager, then the manager will come up to the GM or to the president and say, dude, what's going on? So it's not based on public disclosure of job uncertainty. It's based on more inner circle, more real sources of that job insecurity or the lack of, the ability to continue. But in Florida and with college coaches, there's no way that Napier is going to say anything to the AD. He doesn't need to. If the AD knocks on the door and says, I want to meet you at 7:00, and by the way, bring your key card, then you're going to get fired, and that's fine. But what coaches should be doing is focusing on their next game, focusing on the job they have to do, and not worry about that noise, unless, of course, the noise comes from a different source. Like if your AD walks into your office and says, dude, you better win this week or I'm going to fire you. That's the type of honesty that I'd love to have, but really doesn't exist often. But if you're asking whether he's going to react to a media report, I would say he would not. There'd be no particular reason for him to. And but he will be aware, because I assume Coca people in his life, in his circle, would say, you know what, like they're having a Board of Regents meeting and my friends on the Board of Regents, and they discussed how they're going to fund your buyout and you're about to be fired. I would then take that more seriously, and then I would talk to the AD and say, dude, why wouldn't you have told me that? We're supposed to be teammates here.
Because he's going to get fired. Like it's
so
just
it's done.
Well, it's going to happen. The team is 2-4. They're 9.5-point favorites this weekend at home against Mississippi State, but they still have games against Georgia. They have to play at Kentucky. They have to play at Ole Miss, who's ranked number 5 in the nation right now. They still have Tennessee, and then the final game of the season is against Florida State. So there is the chance that this team goes, how many games left is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have 6 games left. They're 2-4. There's a chance they go, I don't know.
Do your math. You can do it, Matt. I know you're struggling right now.
5-7, 5-8. It's
you can't go 5-7 or 5 or 8. There's a set number of games left.
Well, they can. They can still. There's a chance you can go to a bowl game or something if not every team qualifies. I don't know. College football is weird like that, where you have to
Your
hit a
math
certain
is
number
something else.
Well, I'm just saying you have to hit a certain number of games and a certain number of teams who have to qualify for bowl games, and if they don't qualify, then you get losing teams to come, and that's just.
Are
how
you
it
willing
works.
to do a wait to see? Are you saying that Napier is going to get fired during the course of the season?
No, I'm saying he's going to get fired this year. This year he will be fired.
Wait, so what's your wait to see? First of all, are you willing to do an official wait to see?
Billy Napier is going to get fired. That's it. Like,
when?
I'm not saying
by December 31st?
Well, no, I don't have to do that. I don't have to add the when. Sometimes you'll do, this guy will not be the manager at the start of 2026. But I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say that Billy Napier is going to get fired. It's going to
Everybody
happen.
Gets fired.
Yeah, well,
that's your big epiphany?
No, I'm just saying that he is going to get fired this year. Like, it's going to happen this
year.
Season. Yeah. Not at some point in the future, because that could be any year. But we're just going to continue this trend of coaching. I think that's the theme of today. Today is all about coaching, because the Dolphins 1-5 have to play the Browns 1-5. Could this be the weekend? Could this finally be the weekend if the Dolphins lose? Or are we going to have to do this every single weekend with this team because Stephen Ross is 85 years old and he just doesn't really care as much as people want him to care?
He cares. He cares.
Sure, but maybe he cares more about F1 right now and what F1 looks like in Miami, and he's more concerned with that. He doesn't want to start over again. But it's just, we're going to continue on with this coaching theme. So we have Mike McDaniel and what could happen if they lose. Then we have what's happening with the Jets and Aaron Glenn, where the team is just, they're 0-6. They just look like a terribly coached football team. They're just bad across the board. They're playing the Carolina Panthers, who are 3-3. Where last season Dave Canzales was the guy who everybody wanted to fire because the Panthers just couldn't play great football. This year they're 3-3. It looks like they're
coach of the year.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him coach of the year, but it looks like Bryce Young is playing, the best football of his career, and everybody had wrote him off as being like, this guy is going to be a bust. So where do you stand? Right. Where do you stand on, is it too early to move on for a guy? When can front offices see that things are clearly not working out and you have to just cut bait? Or when do you just wait too long? Because it looks like the Mike McDaniel situation, the Dolphins are just waiting too long for the inevitable to happen. Whereas the Aaron Glenn situation, him being a first-time head coach, him being one of the hottest names on the coaching market, last year to bring in, where he was the defensive coordinator of the Lions. Yeah, he was. It was.
I don't remember that.
Him and Ben Johnson were 1A and 1B for who should be, the top head coach. But you're 0-6. You're playing terrible football. Things just don't look promising right now. You told Aaron Rodgers to kick rocks, and now Aaron Rodgers is on the Steelers, and they're in first place in the AFC North.
Coca, stop. You think Aaron Glenn made the decision to not have Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback?
Listen, I think that was part of the conversation with a first year GM in there too, where they sat down and said, hey, what is our football team going to look like? Do we think that we can win football games? And I think if Aaron Glenn comes out and he says, hey, I want Rodgers here because I believe that we can win football games with Aaron Rodgers, I think I can handle whatever media headache is going to be there. I think that the team would have been like, okay, we'll keep Aaron Rodgers around, because he's only going to be around for a year or two. And they went out and they got Justin Fields, and it hasn't worked out.
And I'm telling you that during the interview process, it was made very clear to Aaron Glenn that Aaron Rodgers would not be his quarterback. But let's go back to Stephen Ross quickly. Mm-hmm. He would give up F1 tennis. He would give up real estate, Hudson Yards. He'd give it all up for a Super Bowl trophy. All of it. So Stephen Ross wants to win a Super Bowl. So just know that. Stephen Ross does not like firing coaches during a season. And Mike McDaniel, it is true, it feels like we're week to week with him. So my question for you is this. Don't you think as a fan, you would like your owner to come out and say, except no one would believe him because it's like the dreaded vote of confidence. But wouldn't you like your owner to come out and say before the Browns game, hey, win or lose this weekend, Mike McDaniels is our coach. Mike McDaniel, there's no S, I think. Let's do that again. Coca 4869. Win or lose, Mike McDaniel is our coach, and we are improving. We are attempting to have a system in place that will lead us to a Super Bowl. My name is Stephen Ross, and I believe in this message. I endorse the message of keeping Mike McDaniel. Why not come out and say that? Because when you don't, you're going week to week. And when you go week to week, it's like going game to game with a baseball manager. It doesn't really work well. Or game to game, it doesn't work with anybody. You can't have that sort of pressure. The players feel it. The coaches feel it. The head coach feels it. My view is if you're going to fire McDaniel, do it now. Have the interim come in before the Browns game, because then you can win the Browns game and all of a sudden you can say, hey, look, things are different. We're off to the races, as Steve Ballmer likes to say. Now, if they beat the Browns, it's not like, hey, everything's fixed, because the message is, yeah, beat someone good. So it doesn't help. If they don't beat the Browns, then they fire him. Then the interim has to come in and face they play the week after that. I want to say the Falcons, maybe the week after the Browns. Can you look at week 8?
Yeah, they're at Falcons, then Ravens, and then they're bye.
Right. So listen, it's not the fact the Ravens or Lamar could be back by then, but a hamstring, I doubt he will. The Falcons, you think that they're not doing well, and then all of a sudden,
there is no bye. There is no. They don't have a bye until between November 16th and November 30th. So they're playing 1, 2, 3, 4 games, and then they have a bye.
So the Dolphins have Atlanta, then they have Cleveland, then Atlanta, then Baltimore, then another team.
Buffalo.
So listen, you certainly aren't going to make the coaching change. If he loses the next 3 games, you're not bringing in your interim guy to face Buffalo. You just wouldn't do it. That would be the absolute most ridiculous thing of all time. If you lose to the Browns, you bring the interim guy in to play Atlanta, Baltimore, and then have Buffalo as game 3, maybe reasonable. But Stephen Ross just doesn't like doing that. You certainly, if you lose to Cleveland and then you lose to Atlanta and you've got Baltimore coming without Lamar Jackson, where you should win that game, then you've got Buffalo the week after.
Lamar's back. Lamar's going to be back after this bye. So the Ravens are on a bye this week, and
he's going to play for sure.
Yeah, he's going to.
I thought he had a hamstring strain.
Yeah, but it's about to be 4 weeks.
He's been out for 4 weeks.
Well,
already?
it's going to be 2 weeks. You're going to have the injury, then you have 2 weeks, and then you have a bye week, and then you're back. So it's like he should be back this upcoming weekend. But that Ravens game against the Dolphins isn't for another 2 weeks after that.
That's crazy to me.
First
of all, I didn't realize he'd been 4 weeks already.
He should be back. But speaking about owners who come out and publicly defend their coaches, one of them is Jerry Jones, who Jerry Jones just said, there's no other coach I'd rather be in the foxhole with than Matt Eberflus, who's the first-year defensive coordinator for the Cowboys this year. And the Cowboys have the worst defense in football. So when it comes to yards allowed, they're the second worst in points allowed. So that is an owner who's coming out and saying, like, hey, this is my guy. I'm backing my guy to be the defensive coordinator here.
I hadn't focused on that. Is that the former head coach of the Bears?
Yeah.
And aren't the Cowboys the team that traded Micah Parsons and got a guy who's really good at stopping the run? Have they been a really good run defense?
I believe that they are one of the worst run defenses in football right now.
Did I get that wrong?
They are the fourth worst. They are the 4th worst run defense in football.
Isn't the guy they got from the Packers, whose name escapes me? I want to say Kenny Clark.
Yeah.
I thought that when that press conference that Jerry Jones had, didn't he specifically say that we've got to shore up our run defense and we are bringing in one of the best run defenders in all of football?
Yeah, and they've just been really, really bad defensively.
But
not that Micah Parsons was going to make the biggest difference when it comes to that, but it's still, they're not getting to the quarterback. They're not stopping people. Rico Dowdle, who was a former Cowboy, just came in, last weekend and had over 200 scrimmage yards against them. So they've just been bad. But now getting back to the Jets. When you look at the Jets with Aaron Glenn and being 0-6, if you're Woody Johnson and it's just been a nightmare for them too. How are you sitting there convincing someone like Woody Johnson to be like, hey, listen, there is a plan here. We just need to just be calm right now, and not make any sort of, rash moves after year one or in year
Yeah, I
one.
think that's what you do. You cannot keep resetting, and I've done that. I mean, we fired so many managers, you know that, Coca, but you're 6 games into if you believed Aaron Glenn was the number 1 prospect, how quickly did a team believe, let's go look at a comp? And the name that's coming to my head is Matt Patricia. Do you remember that name?
Mm-hmm.
He was very sought after as a coordinator, I believe under Belichick when New England was winning every year. He became a head coach, and I want to say it was the Lions.
Correct.
How long did he last as head coach?
They gave him 2.5 seasons.
So I think that Aaron Glenn would likely be in the same scenario. Although, look what happened to Brian Callahan.
Correct.
He lasted 1.5 seasons, 19 games, going 4-15. So people are getting less patient. And if you're the Jets, I assume Woody Johnson, if you had to measure patience, I assume Woody Johnson would be at one end of the spectrum because he's never won anything. Mm-hmm. But why wouldn't Stephen Ross be there as well? Because he's never won anything, and he's been around forever and hasn't won a thing. Why would Artie Moreno have any patience with anybody, since he hasn't won anything in so long? So it really does depend. I'm going to say Aaron Glenn is not in danger of being fired during this season. It would just be too embarrassing to Woody Johnson. But I would say that Mike McDaniel is, and that Stephen Ross will at some point realize that he needs to start over now. So that would be my prediction. Mike McDaniel out, Aaron Glenn gets to keep his job.
There are 2 NBA stories that I want to get to because the NBA is already back next Tuesday. Like it feels like the NBA's offseason is the shortest offseason there is, but that's just, like recency bias where you just feel like, things are speeding up, and like yesterday was the NBA finals and then today is the start of the season. But we've already got the news that LeBron is going to miss opening night. That's already there. Do you think that this is the season that teams fully give up on the regular season? Where like load management, they're like, listen, we don't care about any penalties. We want to win. We want to win a championship. So if you're the Sixers with Embiid, if you're the Lakers with LeBron, do you just look at the regular season and say, hey, let's just stay healthy. Let's just not push ourselves, and let's try and make a run to a finals, because we know LeBron is, there's only a few years left for him to just capture another ring. Or if you're the Sixers and it's just like you've never been able to get to, the Eastern Conference Finals, you want to get a ring with Joel Embiid. This season seems like the season where the East is really open because of the injuries in Boston and the injuries in Indiana. So do you think that like this year that teams fully realize that like, hey, we just have to get into the play-in, and we don't even need to get into the play-off. We don't have to be a play-off team. We could be a play-in team and make a run from there. Or do you think it's just going to be, business as usual and I'm just overthinking it?
Coca, we just covered this on the show. Didn't we just talk about the fact that what the Dodgers did with secreting away their pitchers during the course of the season so they'd all be healthy for the postseason, and now they are a juggernaut of starting pitching that are going to win a World Series, and they did not have home field advantage? Didn't we just do? They literally were the worst record division winners. So they had to play a wild card round. Didn't we just do a segment that home field advantage has somehow disappeared from all of the sports? So doesn't it make perfect sense that basketball teams would do what the Dodgers are trying to do? Doesn't it make perfect sense that basketball teams will say, sorry, Adam Silver, I don't care about the regular season, whether I win 65 games, 60 games, or 55 games. I'm going to make sure that my guys are available for the second season, because it's not like baseball where you got to get pitchers healthy for 25 to 28 days and win a World Series. NBA playoffs goes 2 months. So if you know that you've got players who you need to make sure they're fresh because they're a little older, you can bet that they're going to play fewer and fewer regular season games, no matter what Adam Silver says, no matter what the CBA says. So I think everything has combined here, Coca, to make the regular season, which is a nightmare except for the fact that the NBA just finished all its media deals. And there's
but
nothing anyone can do.
The books are sort of on my side here. When you look at DraftKings and you look at the total for the Sixers this year, their total is 42.5 wins, which would put them at 42-40 or 43-39. But
that would be around a 6 seed.
But when you look at the odds to win the Eastern Conference, that's where they are too, where they're 5th. They have the 5th best odds to win the Eastern Conference. So even there, they're saying like, hey, this is going to be a team that could just coast through the regular season, get into the playoffs, and then maybe make a run. Which makes it tough for the viewers and tough for fans because load management has become this big thing, and that brings us back to that conversation we had about devaluing the regular season with an expanded playoff, where it seems like basketball is sort of in danger of that happening because of load management, because players can take off a month of the regular season to keep their body healthy. Who cares about MVPs? Embiid has already won his MVP. So it's just like
I just think if you're the 6th seed with the 6th highest chance of winning the conference, then isn't that totally consistent? Like, are the books taken into account? Explain to me how DraftKings works. If Philadelphia is the 5th best odds to win the Eastern Conference, that means that people believe they're the 5th best team in the conference. Would it not then follow that they'd be the number 5 seed? Would it not then follow they'd win around 43 to 45 games in a shitty conference? And that is how. So isn't it all bleep? Oh, sorry. Oy vey. Isn't that all totally related?
Well, the Bucks are they have the Bucks as the 7th best odds to win the Eastern Conference, and they have their total set at 43.5. So it's just like,
okay,
it's all
a bunch of mediocrity.
Yeah, well, yes, but it's also saying that like that could be a thing that happens, right? Where you try and rest Giannis a little more during the regular season because there's no other sort of like star player there with him. So you want to get him right for the playoffs because, like I said, you could make that run. Whereas, you have the teams like the Magic, where it's like the Magic, this could be their season, where they have, Paolo Banchero as their top player, but is he sort of in the same caliber as the Embiids or the Giannis's or the LeBrons? Maybe this season he takes a step up and he could be at that level, but they have sort of like more of a complete team to do things like that. So I think that the devaluing of the regular season is there because the play-in tournament allows teams to do this. It's allowing teams to rest their players throughout the regular season because it's just saying like, hey, if we have these players who are signed to these mega deals and they don't need that, first team or second team or third team all NBA to get the supermax because they're already making supermax money, then to me the devalue is there.
But if you're a 9-10 seed, it's very risky for the play-in tournament because you lose one game, you're out. 7-8, you have to lose 2 to be out. But I would say that you're saying something to me that I think about a lot. But you mentioned Giannis. We didn't even talk this week, did we, about the fact that the Bucks signed another one of Giannis's brothers? I think 25% of their roster is the Thanksgiving table in the Giannis household. And I've had a brother situation. We had Vladimir Guerrero's brother, Wilton Guerrero, on our team in Montreal. And it made Vladimir's mother super happy. It made Vladimir super happy to have his brother around. And I was thinking when we got rid of Wilton, we were told by Vladimir's agent that Vladimir would be very upset. And it turns out he was fine. But do you think the Bucks are bringing in all of Giannis's people thinking that this will keep him in Milwaukee? I don't get that because if Giannis wants to go to New York, doesn't he think the Knicks will take one of his players or one of his brothers? Or can he just pay for his brothers to come with him on the road and just not sit on the bench with him during games? But they could come and hang out the way they would if they're on the active roster. What are the Bucks doing, come to think of it? I mean, are his brothers even good?
No, we've already seen what, Thanasis has looked like as a basketball player. And he's just not good. Like he's not good enough of a player for them to give a contract to. I think Alex is the name of the other brother who they signed to a 2-way deal. So he's not like fully on the team, but the lengths in which teams go to try and keep star players on their team is just, but it's just like, who doesn't see this? Who's not reading between the lines here and just saying like, all right, guys, come on. Like you're doing too much, because if you're Giannis and the team has a terrible season or they're off to a terrible start and they just don't look like a team, he's going to ask for a trade because he already told us he's going to ask for a trade. He's already said to us like, hey, right now I'm all with the team, but if things were to change, I'm leaving. And that's not one of these situations where he's like, you know what, I can't leave because my two brothers are here. And, if I leave, they have to stay in Milwaukee. It's like, no, they're getting paid money. You did your job as the brother to get your brothers.
They'd be released, Coca, in 5 seconds if Giannis gets traded. Literally, the brothers would be released in 5 seconds. And Giannis came out and said, hey, I'm moving to Greece. I don't want to live in the States. The minute I'm done. It reminded me of Jokic, who's so happy after they win a title to get home and be with his racehorses and his family. I'm all for it. Go back. I'm in. But it's so funny that Giannis, his love of Milwaukee may have been a little overstated. And, River Hills is an amazing place. Big homes, no doubt. Winter's difficult. But Giannis, certainly, if you're a Milwaukee fan, you can't be thinking to yourself that Giannis is going to retire a buck because you don't think your team is good this year. And I'm wondering whether Giannis, would the Bucks fire Doc Rivers as a last-ditch effort to keep Giannis happy? If Giannis is like, hey, he's not playing my bros. I want them to play more games. Fire Doc. That'd be funny.
It seems like Giannis is a guy who doesn't like the dysfunction, right? Like he's not going to be one who's like, hey, fire my head coach, bring in another head coach right away, because it didn't work out last time. And it didn't work out, and they went out and they signed, Damian Lillard. So there are a lot of things that haven't really worked out up there, and he seems like someone who really does want to win another ring. So
why take roster spots with your brothers then, if you so badly want to win?
Because it's the end of the bench. That guy come crunch time is not gonna, be the person,
the difference maker.
To make any difference. And maybe it's something he didn't even ask for. Maybe they were like, hey, we need to sign Giannis's brothers. Let's sign Giannis's brothers. Because it seems
you think Giannis got a call from his brothers to say, you wouldn't believe this, bro. I just signed with the Bucks. You actually think that's how it went down? Come on.
I don't know.
They called on the cell phone? Hey man, this is amazing. Give me a break. It's totally fixed.
I don't know how things operate.
I'm telling you, Giannis was like, I want my brothers around. Sign them. It'd be really good. Giannis would be super happy, the agent would say. That's what we did. You know how happy that we'd be if you could bring in this strength and conditioning coach? You know how happy this player would be? If you could bring in this coach, this player, he's really good friends. Oh, coincidentally, I represent both of them. That's true. But, oh, God, I love agents who do that. Hey, you really got to get this guy in your team, and he happens to be the best friend of a guy you have and represented by the same agent. But I'm telling you, man, that's the difference maker in your team. Give me a break. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Giannis,
this is the
shocked.
This is the end of the show. Just a reminder to everybody, we have no show on Friday. We will be back on Monday. Next week's schedule should be the same as this week, where it's Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. That is the hopes. Thank you, everybody. I'll let David take over for his
Thank you, Coca. These go quickly. We had so many more topics to cover. Thank you all for staying with us. With the lack of consistency, we are trying to be better. We are trying. Thank you for the love. Keep it coming. It's just business. Be safe. This is nothing personal.